Good morning. Before I get started, I just wanted to thank Father Terry for being so accepting of Deacon Steve and myself and putting us to work. It's great, and we really appreciate it. Also, when we were trained to give homilies, they emphasized three things. First, to make 1 or 2 points and stay on those points, not to go too long, and then finally, for the first year, they asked us to read them and not just get up here and ad lib. So you're going to notice that with me and Deacon Steve. What great imagery in today's gospel. Are you salt and light to the world? You know, when I started preparing this homily over a week ago, I read the gospel, and being in high school in the early 1970s, I thought immediately of the song from the musical Godspell, titled, "You Are the Light of the World." I have not been able to get that song out of my mind since. Have you ever had that happen with a song? Anyway, I wish I had Father Luke's courage and would sing it for you, but not. Now, Godspell was not the greatest display of church theology, but in this case, the song captures the message that Jesus is trying to deliver to us this morning. The chorus begins, "So let your light shine before men, let your light so shine." That is what Jesus calls his disciples to do, to be salt and light to the world. You see, Jesus picks these two items because they were essential to living in first century Israel. Salt was used as a preservative for fish and meat. Also, it spiced the taste of foods. And finally, it sometimes was sown in the ground as a kind of herbicide so that nothing could grow. It was very valuable and was referred to as white gold. It was sometimes even used to pay people. And why was light essential in ancient times? Well, obviously there was no electricity or electric lights. The sun's rising and setting controlled their whole lives. The available light during the day allowed you to work. At night, when you came into a room, you lit an oil lamp to give you light. So when Jesus said in today's gospel to them, "When you light a lamp, do not put it under a bushel basket," the first century Jew would have thought, who would do that? What Jesus is saying to them and to us is a call for action, to live and share their faith in God with others. Why? Because they and you are essential, like salt and light, for the world to be saved. Jesus had just finished the Sermon on the Mount, which he had challenged the crowd in their beliefs and what it meant to follow God. So now he is challenging them to live their faith and give evidence of it. Let there be no mistake. Jesus is the light. The Bible is full of references of God being our light. Last week's gospel from Matthew said, "The people that sat in darkness have seen a great light." And the gospel of John begins with, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came to be through him, and without him nothing came to be. What came to be through him was life, and this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." So Jesus came to live with mankind and be our light. In baptism, he comes to live in us. We are called to nurture that light by becoming more like Jesus, and then show that light to the world. In fact, our first reading today from Isaiah, it challenged the ancient Israelites to do the same. It says, "Share your bread with the hungry, shelter the oppressed and the homeless, clothe the naked when you see them, and do not turn your back on your own. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn." Think about it. That is how we give witness to our faith today too, by showing kindness to others, by engaging the world and showing them a different way to live. Because Jesus lives in our hearts and souls, we should be different than the rest of the world. In the gospel today, Jesus continues, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a mountain cannot be hidden." We are to put our faith out in the open for all to see, a city on a mountain, the light for people to see. Often in art, you will see a lighthouse to symbolize Jesus. The idea is Jesus is the light that leads us, to give something for people to use to guide them on their journey. Many of us have been in a boat on a lake and have seen how easily it is to get disoriented. We look for a reference point on shore to give us some kind of perspective of our location. Jesus wants us to live our lives as a lighthouse to others, to show forth the light that lives in us. That light is Jesus. Showing that light can be called evangelization. Wow, there's that scary word. But evangelization is more of not hiding from the world what you believe. You witness to others when they see your life in struggles, and yet you have peace and persevere and trust in God. Then they want that peace they see in you. Do you struggle with maintaining this peace at times? I have two practical ways this morning to help you keep this peace. First, know what we believe. Know what we believe as Catholic Christians. The Catechism is a great source of this knowledge. Many of you have heard of Father Mike Schmidt's A Bible in a Year podcast. That was so successful that this year he is doing the Catechism in a Year. It lays out teachings of our Catholic faith in daily bite-sized pieces. Another great resource is a series of videos that Carol Yaney is having the small faith groups watch this Lent. They come from the site form.org. This series is called The Search. It is wonderful. They review with you what our Catholic Christian faith teaches about God and why. Some of the titles are Why a God? Who is Jesus? Am I saved? Why church? The cinematography is awesome and would appeal to all age groups, so appropriate to watch as a family. Or better yet, join a small faith group and engage in discussions with fellow parishioners. Sign up is in the back of church. I know what you're thinking. I know my faith, but I feel uncomfortable passing it on. Or how do I pass it on when I struggle in my own beliefs? Well, let's be honest. We all struggle at times, but God will help us when we go to Him in prayer. One resource in prayer that I'm using is a little book that was first given to me by Father Terry over a year ago. It is called Searching for and Maintaining Peace by Father Jacques Philippe. It is written in small segments that will lead you to find peace in your life and in your faith. Who can't use that? It has been a big help to me personally. I highly recommend it no matter where you are in your faith journey. Read a short segment each day during Lent, and it will help you find peace and realize that God is still in control. One final thought. Jesus calls us to be light of the world, and we acknowledge it is not always easy. Often we are to be witnesses with our lives, not to strangers, but to family, friends, and co-workers. But for most of us, that is exactly where God is calling us to be a witness, to the people we live with daily. Witness out of love, and witness not by being preachy, but by showing how you care for others. By showing them that although you have struggles in your life, you never lose your trust in God, or lose sight of our ultimate destination in this journey, heaven, and being back home with the Lord. I want to encourage you to be that light in your world. And when you're feeling a little weak, throw yourself at God's mercy. He loves a contrite heart. So, when you know the basics of your faith and trust God, you can find peace in this crazy world and do what Jesus asks of you. Be the light to our world. May God give you the strength to do so.